The news on NBC 6 at 11 starts now.
A much-awaited FIU pedestrian bridge collapsing.
It sounded like a huge explosion. It was awful.
The huge structure crumbling down over a busy crossing, crushing cars and killing people.
I saw the most terrifying view of this bridge collapsing onto the... I saw a black car right in the middle.
Rescue workers pouring over the rubble, working to free trapped drivers.
We were able to save many lives today.
And a live look at the scene of that tragedy as we come on the air tonight. A bridge that was intended to give students a safe route across a busy road, responsible for killing and injuring several people. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jackie Nesbitt.
And I'm Jawan Strader. Good evening to you. We want to give you fresh information tonight on that collapse. At least 4 people are dead tonight. And according to Kendall Regional Hospital, they've treated at least 10 people injured in the collapse.
Meanwhile, crews are desperately trying to move the massive slabs of that bridge. Officials say there are 8 cars still under the bridge. However, they don't know yet whether they are all occupied. We've got a team of reporters covering all angles of this story, from the victims to the recovery to the company behind the building of the structure.
But we begin tonight with NBC6 anchor Keith Jones. Keith.
Yeah, a Miami-Dade fire rescue source tells me that they have confirmed at this point this is no longer a search and rescue operation. This is a full-on recovery operation at this point. Still confirmed 4 deceased. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue was able to drop a fiber optic lens camera down into the debris, and they say 2 of the deceased are in one car. The other 2 deceased are in separate cars. There are still 5 cars they cannot get to at this point. So the death toll is unknown. Also unknown why this bridge crumbled in the first place. No one would have thought it. This collapsed pile of rubble entombing an uncertain number of victims was being celebrated the weekend prior. Widespread panic as FHP received the call sometime after 1:30.
Where we encountered a bridge collapse, we responded along with fellow first responders from Miami-Dade Police and Fire. We encountered several vehicles that were crushed as a result of this incident.
Minutes later, Sweetwater's mayor received that same call.
At 1:48 p.m., a local resident and business owner called me and told me the bridge just collapsed. My heart stopped. 3 police officers were on scene within 30 seconds. They find this 950-ton, 174-foot-long bridge buckled. 8 cars crushed. They start pulling victims from the rubble. Providing chest compressions, CPR, and maintaining victims alive and brought back to life to allow fire rescue to get here and transport them.
Miami-Dade fire rescuers engaged in a delicate rescue operation. The instability of this collapse puts their lives in danger during the rescue. As late as 4 in the afternoon, rescuers continued to find survivors. Why would a brand new $16 million state-of-the-art structure just buckle? Well, that's now under investigation. But FIU's president said tonight he was aware crews were on the bridge today performing stress tests.
I know that tests occurred today, and I believe that they did not prove to lead anyone to the conclusion that we would have this kind of a result.
And that same fire rescue source says there was a bridge crew on the bridge at the time of the collapse. This investigation can't begin in earnest until the recovery effort is over. By the way, NTSB did arrive here in Miami tonight about an hour ago. Live at FIU, Keith Jones, NBC6 News.
And you just heard from Keith there. A team from the NTSB arrived here in South Florida not too long ago to investigate the bridge collapse. Now, the chairman of the NTSB spoke this afternoon from Washington.
We will start talking to people tonight and have our team on the ground, boots on the ground, first thing tomorrow morning. We will be releasing information as we learn it.
But you just heard from Keith. They've already arrived there on the scene. The NTSB team is comprised of 15 specialists in a number of areas, including civil engineering, material science, and survival factors.
That man in Spanish saying, "Oh my God, look at this." Take a look at this new cell phone video of a man stunned by the incident. He was driving by the area and missed the collapse by mere inches.
Oh my God.
Intense scenes like this one of bystanders helping people caught in what looked like the aftermath of an earthquake, a common sight today. NBC6 anchor Johnny Archer is live at FIU with what we know about the efforts to save everyone who may have been trapped. Johnny?
Yeah, Jackie, good evening to you. And you just heard Keith Jones said that they are in a recovery phase right now. The search and rescue phase lasted all day. And one of the important things for first responders is not only finding possible victims under the rubble, but making sure that first responders remain safe, because the rest of that bridge could still come down.
More than 100 firefighters raced to find any victims still trapped under 950 tons of concrete and rebar.
We're using all of our search and rescue equipment. We use the canines, we use Delstar listening devices, we use search cameras.
Around 1:30 in the afternoon, a partially built bridge collapsed on top of cars and construction workers at Florida International University. The Miami-Dade fire chief confirmed several people were killed.
We have located up to 4 victims. 4 deceased.
As day turns to night, the search and rescue phase continues, hoping to find any survivors.
We were able to remove 9 victims early on. They've all been transported to local area hospitals.
The scene along Southwest 8th Street remains active but dangerous, as large beams of concrete sit unstable over the road.
The entire scene is still unstable, so the engineers are working using drones, using overhead photography, and using different sonar equipment to determine what's going to be the best approach to be able to secure the scene, and then slowly but surely start removing debris.
Jackie, Juwan, as for the cleanup effort here, it's just unknown right now. They don't know how many days, how many weeks it will take to clean up that bridge from Southwest 8th Street here on FIU's campus. Also, the president of FIU was asked if they plan to build another bridge in the future or just not build anything at all. He says at this point, it's just too early to tell. Reporting live from FIU, Johnny Archer, NBC6 News.
Well, let's go back to that bridge there. The bridge was still under construction just days before today's collapse. And over the weekend, the intersection was closed off so that workers could swing the main part of the bridge into place. Here's a quick look at how they did it here. The $14.2 million project has been in the works since August of last year. It's supposed to connect Sweetwater to FIU right above Southwest 8th Street and Southwest 109th Avenue, which is a very busy and dangerous crossing. The bridge's main 174-foot span was assembled by the side of the trail, while support towers were built at each end. The 950-ton span was then picked up and moved, then lowered into place by special gantry cranes. Now here's a look at what the bridge was supposed to look like here. This is an animation done by FIG, the company behind its design. The bridge, which would have also served as a gathering space, was due for completion around 2019.
And as we mentioned at the top, 10 people were injured and they were transported to Kendall Regional Medical Center where they were treated. NBC6 reporter Jamie Garola has been there all day getting updates on their conditions. What do you have for us, Jamie?
Well, Kendall Regional is less than 3 miles away from University City Bridge, where that bridge collapsed. It's also the closest trauma center and received most of the victims. Late tonight, Florida Governor Rick Scott stopped by Kendall Regional Medical Center. He visited victims from today's bridge collapse and met with doctors who tended to them.
This is just such a senseless act, and you just can't imagine this happening to these individuals. I told them anything I can do to be helpful to them, I'll do it.
Surgeons treated 10 level 1 trauma patients.
One of the patients arrived in cardiac arrest. His heart was restarted and he went emergently to the operating room. He is currently in critical condition in the intensive care unit with head and chest injuries.
Another patient in critical condition arrived in a coma. The other 8 also had traumatic injuries but are stable.
There's a variety of injuries with 8 patients, everything from bruises and abrasions all the way to broken bones.
Doctors impressed. None of the survivors of the 950-ton bridge collapse have any brain injuries. Kendall Regional says this is the biggest mass casualty event they've worked, but it's something they prepared for.
We run mock drills on this to be ready when this situation occurs, like most trauma centers.
And the victims range in age from 20 to 50 years old. I did see some friends and family leaving the hospital tonight. I tried to see if they would talk, but understandably, they're not ready to do that yet. Reporting live tonight at Kendall Regional Hospital, Jamie Garola, NBC6 News.
Totally understandable, Jamie. Thank you. And our team coverage moves now to NBC6 reporter Laura Rodriguez. She spoke to families and friends who anxiously awaited news about their loved ones. Laura.
Well, Jawan, what makes this so difficult for so many families that are anxiously awaiting is that they probably won't have any information on the identification of those people until police and authorities and first responders are able to get to them. So this process is very lengthy and, as you can imagine, very nerve-wracking for all of those who may be involved and their loved ones. At this time, this Family Reunification Center remains open on the FIU campus for anyone who needs help.
We're here and seeking some answers.
Concerned family and friends walked into the Student Academic Success Center on the FIU campus, hoping to get any bit of information about their loved ones.
We checked every single hospital for to see where we could find her, and there's no record of her being admitted into the hospital.
Manny and Lynette say their friends were inside an SUV trapped under the bridge. The male passenger made it out alive, but injured, and the female driver is missing.
It hurts. I was really close to her. I just hope she's okay and that she's found soon.
The way the bridge landed, it landed on the driver's side, so that's why he was able to get out to the passenger. And everything just happened too fast, and he couldn't really get her out of the car.
The Red Cross, mental health professionals, and clergy of all faiths are assisting the community at the Family Reunification Center.
We're here to serve as a resource. If anybody needs any help, a shoulder to cry on or a hand to hold, that's why we're here.
The tragedy also brought out the best in humanity. Dozens of people brought food, water, and supplies to support first responders or anyone who may have a relative involved in this incident.
You have people here who love you and who are praying with you constantly.
Again, this center remains open. If you'd like to make your way here now, the best entrance on the FIU campus is Southwest 107th Avenue and 16th Street. If you cannot come to the FIU campus and you still have questions, have not been able to locate a loved one, the number to call is 305-348-3481. Again, 305-348-3481. Live on the FIU campus tonight, I'm Laura Rodriguez, NBC 6 News.
Laura, thank you. And President Donald Trump reacting to the bridge collapse on Twitter. The commander-in-chief describing the incident as heartbreaking and tragic. He says he will continue to monitor the bridge collapse and gave a special thank you to the first responders who rushed in to save lives. The president also offered his prayer to all those affected.
And much more coverage ahead of the collapse. Questions about the qualifications of one company involved in the project and a design that pushed the limits. The NBC6 investigators on a search for answers.
Plus, road closures and heavy traffic is expected to surround the area in the coming days. We're helping you navigate the tie-ups with alternate routes in your First Alert traffic.
And we woke up to temperatures this morning into the upper 40s for folks around town, and we continue to see a warming trend out there. I'll tell you exactly when it'll start and when we actually will see upper 80s in the forecast. That's coming up after the break.
What began as an engineering marvel, now a catastrophe, as the search is on for answers.
NBC6 investigator Tony Pipito found questions about the bridge's design and the qualifications of one of the inspection firms. He joins us live in studio with more. Tony.
FIU was in charge of this project. The two companies it hired to design and build it are world-renowned. But it came crashing down on a day when workers were adding stress to the bridge to test it. One question sure to be asked, were they trying to build a bridge too heavy and too far? As engineering feats go, this bridge pushed the limits.
And this is the largest that we've swung in the United States.
Munilla Construction Management's president told us as much Saturday.
Like any construction project, it takes a large group of people, and they have to work in harmony and in unison for it to be a success.
Instead, disaster that came on a day when engineers were adding stress to test the integrity of the structure raised on Saturday.
I'm satisfied that the testing that was occurring was consistent with best practice. They did not prove to lead anyone to the conclusion that we would have this kind of a result.
And this was not just any bridge. For the first time, all the concrete on a bridge was infused with a substance to trap pollutants and keep it white. A civil engineer we spoke to said the concrete made it extra heavy for such a long span. It was designed to withstand a Cat 5 hurricane, but not whatever caused this.
If somebody's done anything wrong, they'll be held accountable.
Also a concern, because the bridge was so unusual, it required a second design check by a firm that was pre-qualified by FDOT. Tonight we learned the firm hired by FIU's contractors was not pre-qualified, a violation of the agreement according to FDOT. Now, that does not mean that the firm wasn't professionally qualified to do the job, but it hadn't gone through the process that FDOT required before FIU contractors hired it. Now, those companies, those contractors, MCM and FIG Engineering, have a few blemishes on their record, some of them things you might expect with big international companies, but nothing like this. Tony Pipitone, NBC6 News.
Tony, thanks. And it could be several days before traffic near the site of the collapse returns to normal. Here's an animation showing the area where that bridge once stood. We're talking about the heavily traveled area of Southwest 8th Street and 109th Avenue. First Alert traffic reporter Stephanie Bertini is helping you navigate through the tie-ups.
You know, it's been busy, as you know, and we've been talking about throughout the entire day with the road closures. Of course, during that rush hour drive, it was most intense. But taking a live look out there now, you can just see that there's still a lot of first responders. This is the shot along Southwest 8th, the area where the bridge collapsed. Want to bring you to the maps to be able to give you the magnitude of the closures. Still closed Southwest 8th Street between Southwest 107th Avenue and Southwest 112th Avenue. Your alternate still Coral Way or Flagler. It's been that way ever since the incident happened. That Turnpike extension is still closed southbound. Earlier, the northbound side was also closed because they were assisting with emergency vehicles. All in all, it's really been a traffic disaster. And if it remains like this tomorrow, it's definitely going to be impacting your rush hour drive. Pulling up that video now, this is what first responders from the sky you could see had to deal with earlier today. And as you can imagine, getting this cleaned up is going to take a lot of time. Southwest 8th, very heavily traveled for morning rush hour. And so tomorrow, if the closures remain as they are, it is definitely going to be impacting your drive. Kelly Blanco, our traffic reporter in the mornings, is here. Starting at 4:30, she will have your updates as to how this will be affecting that morning commute. But for now, it looks like Southwest 8th will be shut down in that area around 107th, 112th, 117th. That's the shutdown now. Throughout the day, we've seen some rolling closures, side street closures. So tomorrow morning, the magnitude of whatever they're dealing with out there will help us know in the traffic center exactly how it'll affect you. Again, updates starting at 4:30 with Kelly Blanco.
And Stephanie, speaking of traffic around that area, there is a youth fair going on about an hour after the bridge collapsed. Opening day for the Miami-Dade County Youth Fair went on as planned. The annual event takes place on the grounds adjacent to the FIU campus. Now, the fair released a statement saying that they are saddened by the incident and offer their condolences to those affected by the tragedy.
First Alert weather, powered by First Alert Doppler 6000.
Okay, well, another day where we were definitely feeling much cooler than normal. You can see barely making it into those low 70s for some. Pompano Beach just 71 degrees, while Opa-locka sitting at 76 during peak heating. We, of course, will see a better trend into the warmer conditions here as we go through the next couple of days. In the meantime, quiet conditions on your First Alert Doppler 6000. We have a high that's been sitting in place and continues to shift to the southeast. That leaving us with those winds eventually moving out of the southeast, for now out of the northeast. So still another cool evening ahead of us, but you'll notice not dropping quite as much as we were yesterday at this time. A couple of folks into the 50s already. That 57 right now for Kendall. You can see 63 for Opa-locka and down through Pembroke Pines, 64 degrees. So another nice night out there. We wake up tomorrow again into the 50s. Those winds out of the northeast, that helps us as it moves over the water instead of over that dry land. That keeps us into the upper 50s this as we head to tomorrow morning with those bright skies again on tap. But by afternoon, a little bit of sunshine and those winds now shifting out of the east leaves us with temperatures trying to get back to normal. You can see upper 70s it is for us as we go through our Friday afternoon. And again, plenty of sunshine. Really not seeing a whole lot of rain in the forecast here as we go through at least the next couple of days. That trend continues even through our weekend. Of course, we're looking ahead to that Jazz in the Gardens Music Festival forecast. 80s are back. You'll notice this looking a whole lot warmer than what we even dealt with today, and definitely a lot warmer than what we were dealing with this morning. You can see as we take a peek at our extended forecast, a couple of changes out there, and it mainly is going to get your attention when it comes to the temperatures. We still go through our weekend with quiet conditions. Tomorrow, fairly normal, fairly mild. That lasts with us through Saturday, and then we really start to see those winds veering out of the south. That leaves us pumping in that warm, more humid air, not really bringing a whole lot of rain chances, but but it does give us that sea breeze, leaving us with some of that warmer air trying to work its way in and creep our temperatures up. Notice by Tuesday, we are talking the start of spring, but temperatures definitely feeling more like summer with those upper 80s out there. Next chance of rain looks to hold off until by mid next week, when we do watch for our next front that brings us just a slight chance of showers out there. Guys, back over to you.
Welcome back. Newly released surveillance video is shedding new light tonight on the actions of a now retired Broward deputy criticized for not entering Stoneman Douglas High School during the deadly shooting. Less than a minute after the first shot was fired, surveillance video shows Deputy Scott Peterson on his radio. He heads to a golf cart and drives with others in the direction of the shooting. Now, 2 minutes into the tragedy, he shows up outside the 1200 building, but look, he doesn't enter. He stands about 120 feet away at a building next door and is seen occasionally raising his gun and using his radio to communicate. We showed the surveillance video to a former police officer and police academy trainer.
If he rushes in the building and gets killed, now everybody's in the blind. Nobody knows what's going on. So his first assignment is to assess and find out what the situation is.
Well, in the background of the video, you can see what appears to be other law enforcement officers responding while Peterson stood at his post. Sheriff Scott Israel suspended Peterson without pay. The longtime school resource officer chose to retire.
And we'll be right back with sports. Stay with us.
Here they come. One timeout, they don't take it.
Ouch. And just like that, the Miami Hurricanes' stay in the NCAA tournament is a short one, stunned at the buzzer by Loyola Chicago in the first round. Miami's loss is the first upset of the tournament. The Canes were a 6 seed and Loyola is an 11 seed. finishes the season 22-10, and I'm heartbroken. The Florida Panthers are fighting for a wild card spot and getting a much-needed win over Boston tonight and dominating the third best team in the NHL. The Cats shutting out the Bruins 3-0. Vincent Trocheck scoring his team-leading 27th goal. James Reimer stopping all 46 shots. The Panthers have won 9 of their last 10 games in Sunrise. The Panthers get 2 more points, but still trail Columbus and New Jersey. Columbus won their 6th straight game tonight. Florida has more games left than either of those two. Well, the salary dumping continues for the Miami Dolphins today. The team released longtime center Mike Pouncey. That saves the Fins another $7 million in cap space. Pouncey was a first-round pick in 2011 and a team captain just last year. Meanwhile, the team adding replacements. Miami's reportedly to have signed a 4-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman from Chicago to a 2-year contract and also swapping a draft pick with the 49ers for their starting center Daniel Kilgore. Well, the Heat will again be shorthanded when they face the Lakers tomorrow night. Dwayne Wade and Hassan Whiteside will sit out for a 3rd straight game. Starting guard Josh Richardson is doubtful, and Miami has lost 9 straight road games. And the Heat offering their support after today's fatal bridge collapse. Udonis Haslem tweeting, "My heart is with FIU today. This is our community. I'm here with you all." That'll do it for sports. We'll be right back.
Okay, before we go tonight, here's the latest on today's tragedy in Southwest Miami-Dade. The deadly bridge collapse at FIU. The bridge over Southwest 8th Street crushing several cars just days after that bridge was installed. At least 4 people are dead. Kendall Regional Medical Center treating 10 people. 2 are in critical condition. 8 are stable.
And crews at the collapse site are now in search and recovery mode. You're looking at a live picture right now as the lights are on there on the site. There's no indication right now when that part of 8th Street will reopen, but the Red Cross is now assisting with the family reunification efforts, and we're told the FIU campus will open tomorrow. Southwest 8th Street from 107th Avenue to 117th Avenue is closed until further notice. And there's a news conference scheduled for 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Our morning team will pick our coverage up of this tragedy. Look for their live reports beginning at 4:30 a.m.
Our hearts and prayers are with those family members as well as the victims. A lot of heavy hearts out there. So be sure to keep it locked right here. Also, you can go online at NBC6.com as well as the NBC6 app.
Thanks for sticking with us all day today as we covered the bridge collapse here at FIU.
Yeah, be sure to tune in tomorrow morning beginning at 4:30 a.m.
Good night.